Well, good morning and welcome to Affairs from the Heart. Affairs, the matters that float around us each day as seen from the front bar of the White Hart Hotel in Lewis. The White Hart Hotel, full of tradition, of history. More famous faces and heads have passed beneath these rafters than you can shake a stick at. Lots and lots of history, including Tom Paine and the rights of man. Tom Paine, the man who coined the phrase the United States and also the House of Commons. Some man he was. Not a very likable character, apparently, and he drank far more than he should have, but nonetheless, a man of genius who died in poverty, as most people of genius do. Do you want to see the holes in my shoes? Right. But this is a potpourri of bits and pieces. But let's, on the face of the fact that there is a headline that a man posing as a priest almost entered Windsor Castle and got next to the Queen. This is what we are about during this year of 2022. And we are in May, and the 3rd of May, encroaching and getting ready for the month of June when it all happens. There we go. It is Jubilee year. And the monarch was seen over the weekend laughing and joking. She has not been in the best of health recently, but it would appear is back on the up, ready to celebrate with her family, with her friends, with her subjects, and with most of the world. But in the light of war, new warfare, verging on being tabbed World War III, as the Russians continue to batter the Ukrainians, trying to bludgeon them into submission. So that's that bit. Outside, it's going to be 15 degrees again, which is sort of balmy. A gentle breeze. There is a good chance, well, a 24-25% chance of rain about 3 o'clock this afternoon. So if you are going out this afternoon, just be careful and make sure that you're conscious that there might be a sprinkle or two. maybe a sprinkle or two, maybe a sprinkle or two. Oh dear, dear, dear. If it's that sort of weather and it's that sort of environment that is bringing a little ditty to my lips, then you're in trouble. The headlines, because today we go to the polls. We can, well, I say we, because almost everywhere except Lewis, and the Lewis is out of kilter, out of step. We have them every 2 years. Every 4 years, but the 2 years after this particular day, when almost everybody else goes to the polls for local elections. Ours are still 2 years away. Why that is, I have no idea. Lost in the midst of time. I must get Stephen Catlin and get him to give us a rundown on the reason for that. But in the rest of the country, and the critics, the analysts are saying that Boris is in for a hammering. That people have remembered very clearly him having Christmas cake when the rest of us were told to face the wall. Face the wall with the dunce's cap on. Personally, I think that it's just gone too far. And the silly nonsense going on with now that the Tories discovering that Keir Starmer had a pint in one of his constituency offices. Bloody hell. How many people? I mean, don't you remember that just the slightest foot being taken off the pedal, all those people that flocked to the beaches, flocked to the beauty spots, rubbing shoulders and passing on COVID. Right? There weren't many of them prosecuted either. And they were irresponsible. And perhaps Boris has been irresponsible, and perhaps Keir Starmer has been irresponsible, but I would like to see how responsible they are in looking at the crises that we are facing. And one of them in the, which newspaper is it? It's the Daily Mail. Where have our GPs gone to? And they are asking the question of how can we satisfactorily have a decent medical service when each GP in the land on average has 2,000 patients to look after. Well, okay, they've got 2,000 on their books, but even so, that's a fair number. That's a fair number. And is that a voice I know and love? Well, it is possible. It is possible. But anyway, we'll see. Somebody came in and is chatting to the front desk, where this morning I was not greeted by the two charming ladies. They've got the day off, apparently, or they're coming in later. But a nice young man nonetheless. So if you are coming into the White Hart, you can expect the usual welcome, which is a very, very nice welcome. It is a warm welcome. And I have to say that that's one of the things that is nice about this hotel. It is traditional, to say the least. And the lounge is beginning to fill up, believe it or not. It's the old farmer's bar. And when this was a rural town, when livestock and there were several markets, sheep market, cattle market, goat market, market, you name it. In those heady days, the bars, the farmers' bars in all the hotels and drinking establishments were the life and soul of the party. Those days have gone, of course. But anyway, back to where have our GPs gone? And I have to say that I was not terribly enthused when the activists who get on, they're always clapping about something. And I don't mind them clapping, but they never, ever do much critical thinking or critical views. It's banging the drum for the NHS. And I said, I will not bang the drum, or a saucepan for that matter, for the NHS, because the NHS is a monolithic disaster. Oh, you can't say that, our NHS, save our NHS. No, reform our NHS, because it is a disaster. And now we are beginning to see it more and more and more and more and more. It's not a reflection on the doctors and the nurses. On the contrary, or for that matter, frontline staff, even down to the cleaners. They all seem to be fairly efficient and happy folk, doing a good job. But the bureaucracy which has grown up around the NHS and the constant investigations to see whether they're doing the right job or not has just put a dent in the aura of free medical attention, no matter who you are. So we need to take a very strong and serious look. There needs to be reform. Oh, there I go again, swearing. Reform. We must never, ever use that word in the presence of a politician, or for that matter, a civil servant. Sir Humphrey lives. Do not try to change the way things are done. First of all, they will fight you to the bitter end and win. But secondly, it's all okay. It all works. Even though patently doesn't work, it all works. We don't need reform. We don't need people. Or if we do need reform, what we'll do is we'll say we need reform and we'll leave things and work towards making sure that they stay the way that they are. Yeah. Boom, boom, boom. Bam, bam, bam. Well, not good. Not good at all. Right. So where have our GPs gone is the headline in the Daily Mail. The other interesting one, which I think is, for things that aren't going to pass in the night, is that a heat wave is predicted to start today. We're going to get 23 centigrade. It's going to be hotter than Crete, Ibiza, Saint-Tropez, and temperatures are going to rise to 23 centigrade from Tuesday. Well, at the moment out there, it is only 15. And certainly, if we're going to be hotter than Ibiza or Saint-Tropez, it's got to prove itself today. But apparently, there is going to be a heat wave, and it's going to hit us. And of course, a heat wave in some ways is almost as bad as an ice age hit, very cold. We like our temperatures medium here. Thank you very much. Not too hot and not too cold. Just like the Three Bears porridge. And that's the way it should be. But that is the prediction. So watch out for it. And if they said Tuesday, today is Tuesday. Now, possibly, this is the way newspapers work, is when they say Tuesday, they don't say today Tuesday or tomorrow Tuesday or whatever. They just say Tuesday. They could mean this time next week. So we'll have to see. The main headline, though, and we are at the moment not saying anything about the war in Ukraine. And I think probably is that the feeling is that it's just a bit too sameness. I remember I was working in Canada at the time of the Vietnamese War, and I can remember the first GI to die. And we got screeds and screeds, school records, and so on and so forth. A great fuss was made. And then I can remember about a year later is that at the bottom of the pile was the 1,000th GI died in Vietnam today. And that was it. You barely got his name. In fact, you didn't. So the issue of a death in issues in Ukraine are slowly beginning to seep into the conscious. So in the end, we'll just be saying, yes, the war in Ukraine entered another day, and that's it. And it's sad when things get to that level. But there we are. There we are indeed. Okay. Now, we like to look behind the headlines. Behind the headlines. But let's just see what we've got. What good little things we've got to tease you and titillate you. I have no idea what we've got here. This one I do know, and since we've just been talking about the war, let's play it.
How many roads must a man walk down before you call him a man? How many seas must a white dove sail before she sleeps in the sand? Yes, and how many times must the cannonballs fly before they're forever banned? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. Yes, and how many years must a mountain exist before it is washed to the seas? And how many years can some people exist before they're allowed to be free? Yes, and how many times can a man turn his head and pretend that he just doesn't see? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. Yes, and how many times must a man look up before he can see the sky? And how many ears must one man have before he can hear people cry? Yes, and how many deaths will it take till he knows that too many people have died? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind.
Well, and I suppose the feminists will get onto us about the lyrics of that song, Bob Dylan's song, which is a peace song and appropriate, I think, to Ukraine, because it says how many days must a man, and everybody, and they'll totally miss the point of what that's all about. Okay, now is walking briskly could make you feel 16 years younger. Now, that's all very well, but I, for instance, have Parkinson's, and I can try and walk briskly, but it's beyond me. I mean, I hobble, and much as I tend to believe that give it time as I shall overcome this, at the moment I'm a hobbler. So does that mean that I'm not going to feel 16 years younger? Well, I feel cheated, because if I was able to walk briskly and feel 16 years younger and look 16 years younger, then I would be in seventh heaven. I would be able to look and wink at some of these young things of 50 and 60 with a bit of cheek and a bit of flair. As it is, I'm a hobbler, and I'm not going to tell you how old I am. No secret, but I'm not going to tell you. You guess or find out some other way. Knocking 16 years. Why 16? I have no idea. But knocking years off your age is very, very tempting when you do reach the latter stages of your life. And I would really quite like to think that I'm going to reach the latter stages of my life and go on for a bit longer. And the fact that I can't walk briskly and can't knock 16 years off is irritating, to say the least. So I wish they wouldn't tell me in the first place. Under that, there's a story about just a year, Anne. I want to call her Anne Brown, but Anne Robinson says that she's going to quit from a host of Countdown, for which it says she is paid £500,000. Bloody hell! And to think, I sit here and what I'm paid for doing so, it pales into insignificance. In fact, it's so insignificant that it's a minus quantity. And where do we go? They're just after a year, so apparently there's trouble on set, and it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, it's like Boris's cake. The petty things that go on in television is which has nothing to do with whether the program is good for the viewers or not good for the viewers and so on. But it's you did this and you did that and she did this and she did that, and it's a bunch of baloney. Voters could punish Kieran Company at the ballot box in local elections. Now, where does that come from? Because most of the pundits are saying that the Conservatives are going to take a walloping. So it will be very interesting today to see what is going to happen. So I would say to you, if you're outside our immediate viewing area, which is Lewis District, is get out there and vote. There's enough to vote for. Gosh, how are we going to handle the war? How are we going to handle inflation, which sounds as if it's going to be double digits if we're not careful? How are we going to handle COVID, which has been far from beaten? And how are we going to handle the crisis with a lack of doctors? You can keep on. How are we going to handle all the attendant problems of Brexit, particularly as people really are now settling down to the realities of it, and instead of emotional, the realities of particularly the Northern Ireland issue, where the border has to artificially go through the North Sea, or is it the Irish Sea? No, it's the Irish Sea, and the people in the island themselves have to live with it. What is going on there? And I would like to know. And I don't want to hear any more about a packet of crisps and an iced cake and a half bottle of champagne and a pint that is supposed to be illegal. Oh, incidentally, we just had a lovely story. We just had Fergus Woods on, who is our wine expert. And Fergus has a bottle of wine for sale. He's a vintner. He does online sales, but he's got one called Illegal, and it's a French wine which comes from a tiny vineyard, which doesn't pay due obeisance to the local authorities, the people who put the stamp on the wine. So it, in fact, is not supposed to be even allowed for sale. So the owner of this small vineyard has branded it illegal. And so, in other words, thumbs up to you, those of you who want to try and do us down. Gary Toynton says, "Good morning, Keith, at 11 minutes past 10. Well, it's 12 minutes past 10, so he was on straight away. And a good morning to Gary, one of our great supporters, and in fact will sometimes be showing his sketches once we actually get our act together. Yes, we know that all is well out there. What were we talking about? We were talking about, weren't we? Oh, yes, illegal. How wonderful. I think we should buy up every last bottle of it and just show the authorities. It's not that it's quality control. I'm not against quality control. On the contrary, in the wine industry, it's very important to have quality control because there are all sorts of charlatans who will make their own wine and flog it as a premium by making a fancy label. So no, we do need quality control. But when it gets to the point where a respected vineyard and vintner makes his wine and they say, no, you can't do that because of some silly regulation, then it's time to have illegal, a lot of illegal. Now, the immigrants crossing the channel. It's amazing how the word spreads through these camps. And it may be rumor, but 9 times out of 10, it's red hot rumor that's absolutely right. So the word has spread that the British are having some problems with shipping people off to Rwanda, because the plan is that people who arrive here will be immediately shipped to Rwanda, where they'll be held in the various holding camps, I suppose you could call them. And while their claims for asylum are being processed. And that actually stopped the boats coming across the channel because nobody wanted to go to Rwanda. It's been hit with some difficulties, this plan, Priti Patel's plan to send immigrants or people seeking asylum, evacuees or migres or whatever we want to call them. Because the word has spread, immediately the boats are back, plying a trade across the channel, bringing hundreds and hundreds of people into the country again. So it just shows, doesn't it, how quickly the word spreads, just how quickly it goes from ear to mouth like wildfire among these camps. And the bad boys, the guys with the leaky rafts and so on and so forth are there. They don't throw their leaky rafts away. Oh, no. Tuck them behind the bathroom door. What? We can use them again? Here we go. So that remains a problem. Let's see what this is all about. And if it says Christmas.
Well done, the energy companies. They're full of bright ideas to help their customers. Now they've made power so expensive that for an average house such as this, you can't afford to heat it. So you don't need appliances such as this. But that means you also don't need a fridge, because you can keep your groceries cool and fresh without it. The house is cold enough. Well done, chaps.
Great theory. but I don't think that you should be piling up the milk and the butter just on the floor just yet. I don't think that it works quite the way that we're suggesting there. Right, let's. The Queen is hit by a shock security blunder as an imposter is allowed inside the barracks at Windsor Castle. The Coldstream Guards, the elite guards who look after the Queen, that guard the royal family, is apparently somebody turned up at the barracks door and sort of said, you know, I'm a padre, I'm a priest, and you know, I've been on royal duties and so on and so forth. And somebody said, "Oh well, let us buy you." Oh, that's nonsense. Little things crop up, and one has to pay attention to them. And he come on in and do come into the mess, and we'll give you a pint. And in the chat is, oh dear, it looks as if there's some sort of mistake. Is yes, we'll give you a room for the night. There you go. Yes, don't worry about it. Welcome to the Windsor Castle Coldstream Guard barracks. Except that this guy was not a priest. But I mean, he got in, ate and drank in the officers' mess. He's given a bed for a night, and he was on the premises for 16 hours. Now, if he had been an assassin, think of the damage that he could have done. Think of the damage he could have done. So there'll be a lot of soul searching on that one, and a few red faces, and a few barrack room brawls, undoubtedly, for somebody saying, "You daft apeth, how could you possibly have been taken in by something like that?" Well, he was, and or they were, and he. Let's. I like these little things, particularly on a Tuesday morning. This is for our energy program, and Stuart Dolby will be here tomorrow with the energy methods. Tomorrow afternoon, we're going to New York for a man who has found a way to beat terrible politics. And very pleased we are to be doing that. There we go. So it is 21 minutes past 10 o'clock on Tuesday, the 3rd of May, 2022. Not a year that has really distinguished itself so far, despite the fact that we came out of COVID. We came out of lockdown, because it looks far from certain that we are going to be able to say that we're living with this dreaded, whatever you want to call it, disease. That we are still in the grip, but as so often happens, is that after a while we get so used to things, even though the danger is ever present, is we get so used to things that we pay very scant attention. And then suddenly there will be a surge of deaths. And everybody will say, oh, how could the government have taken their finger off the pace, their eye off the ball? They will. They'll say it. You can guarantee because that's the way that people think. But for the moment, I think that we just have to accept it is one of the ever-present dangers. And we need to be careful. It's just like cancer. During COVID, everybody stopped watching cancer. There was some breakthrough, considerable breakthrough by researchers last week in the cancer front. But we had taken our eye off that particular ball as well. Action research, or yes, action research, or action cancer research, dropped 140 million quid in donations during lockdown, and that they still haven't made it up. And all the important work that they actually subsidize through charitable donations. Well, we've got a comment. It's in Cyrillic. It's Marina is certainly the name of the person that's sending it, but I have no way of translating it. But it says a victory for the heart of the lion. So there. We get carried away by not concentrating on a number of things, and we have now stopped concentrating on COVID. And yet there are as many cases as ever. Well, not quite. But we are warned that towards the end of the summer, we are going to get a spike. That it's going to come back. And are we paying any attention to it? No, we are not. No, we are not indeed. And it behooves us, I think, to start to think. Cancer research went through the window, despite the fact that cancer is still the all-time killer disease. COVID has now been put onto the back burner while we worry about iced cake at Christmas, half bottles of champagne, and pints in party headquarters. It defeats me. It defeats me as to why we allow ourselves to get carried away. And I say allow ourselves because in the long run, it's all down to us. It is all down to us. We are the drivers of these things. Because particularly the chattering classes start to yell and stamp their feet. The woke brigade have created havoc way beyond the support that they really have. And we've allowed it. And we continue to allow it. It is just something that I just do not understand. I do not understand. But it happens. And it is happening. And I better go on. I better go back to the newspapers. Right, but actually, crumbling and filthy hospitals are putting patients' lives at risk. So the NHS is something that I think that we need to make sure that instead of making it a sacred cow beyond criticism, is we should actually be saying, why don't we have a charity to take a look at the NHS? The principle is okay. It's the practice, the application that has got out of hand, has got silly. And that's where we need to do some examination and to rein things in. Johnson, Ukraine is finest hour. No, we won't. Aha, right. Now, if you've got a gold-plated pension, don't sit down and congratulate yourselves on, we'll see this thing through, and we'll look at those poor people who inflation will actually attack in a real way. Because the inflation level is going to rise, so that on average pensions will have a £7,000 hole blasted into them. So if you're sitting on what seems to be a very healthy pension, it looks as if you're going to be 7,000 quid lighter by the end of the year, and somehow you're going to have to make that up, or do what the rest of us do and tighten your belt. Is the inflation is a vicious thing, and we haven't had it for so many years. We don't know how to handle it. We don't even understand it. We go and buy loo paper when these things strike. The Guardian. Priti Patel is going to face mass legal action from Ukrainians who are stuck in a visa backlog. In other words, their visas couldn't be processed quickly enough. Now, I am full of sympathy for the fact that the authorities, and particularly civil service authorities, don't understand speed. They don't understand efficiency. They don't. It's as simple as that. They really, really don't. But suing them because they didn't fulfill the quotas that were promised seems to me to be just a sheer, like the ice cake in Westminster, seems to be one of those things which we should ignore. We should not be picking up a writ. We should not be sending people to courts to sue and get compensation because they didn't get their visa on time. It's another one of those nonsensical things, I think. I remember when I lived in Canada thinking, how can the Americans live with the idea that a doctor will not stop at a roadside and help a victim because he could be sued if anything goes wrong? How absurd. But that absurdity very soon came over the pond, over the big ditch. And here we are in exactly the same situation. Instead of actually eroding what was a nonsense in the first place, the nonsense has eroded what was common sense. Dearie, dearie, dearie me. Dearie, dearie me. The fake priest story, of course, is that's an easy one to write up. So several papers of it. But Tories hit by infighting on the eve of election. Now, it would appear that Jeremy Hunt, who has ambitions of becoming Prime Minister, and actually, I'm told by those who have met him, I've only seen him at a distance. I haven't actually shaken his hand. I'm told that those who have actually met him, that he's a bit of a pompous fish. That he is not a likable man, particularly. Not unlikable, but not likable either. In other words, a bit of a lack of personality. But what he's doing is he's fighting for his desire to hold the top job in the way that politicians do, by hitting below the belt as often as they possibly can. And what he's done is he's sort of made it plain just on the eve of local elections that that's where he wants to go. That's what he wants to be. Oh, dear. All the lovies who are in the internal workings of the political parties is, how could he do that? Oh, unsettling everything. And so I'll say, well, he's done it. Live with it. Get on with pushing your own man. Get on with having somebody whom you believe would be a good counsellor, or do you? And pushing as hard as you can, no matter at what stage the local elections are. Once again, it's the trivia. It's the reflection of the minds of those people who would be the power brokers. Common sense and a reasonable approach to things does not seem to figure in what they offer us as potential candidates, or even as holders of office, where they are holders indeed. So the Tories hit by infighting on the eve of election is, to me, and that's the eye bringing that up. Let's forget the headlines, the front pages, and go back to the inside pages, because there's a musical a new musical which actually hasn't had its first showing, hasn't had its opening night yet, and it's been cancelled. Andrew Lloyd Webber is the man behind it, and he has decided that the matinee performance was on Sunday, and they were gathered, the cast and the crew were gathered for a meeting. And they weren't told at that meeting that he decided to cancel it. They had to find out via social media. So not only are they out of work, but the way they were put out of work is it smacks of what happens to the ferry workers in P&O ferries in Dover. It has happened in the West End of Peterland in London. Sorry, you don't have a job to go to. And even the stars didn't know. And they're probably outraged. And the stars are sort of saying, oh, yeah, we are, blah, blah, blah. And as if these things, that they should be devoid of any suggestion this should happen to them. It happens to everybody. Eventually, money runs out. Money is anticipated, doesn't come. And where are we? Now, isn't that good? Because we suddenly got a half-decent connection. And I hope that will improve your picture. If we can get it temporarily, then we should be able to get it full time. How great. How very good. So, in living color, you've got this mean fizzog staring back at you out of your screen. Whoa. Anyway, Andrew Lloyd Webber's Cinderella, a West End show, a musical, is not going to actually be seen at all. There was a matinee performance, and that was it. I guess they decided that it wasn't up to snuff. And apparently, in New York, anyway, is there are more opening nights for plays and musicals that you can shake a stick at. And this is creating huge confusion, because there aren't enough punters around. So they're making the first night audiences very thin. And so there might be enough bums in seats spread out over the whole of Broadway, but not enough in any one place to make the production viable. And it's really worrying everybody, is will they actually inadvertently make all of the theatre sector collapse because they spread themselves too thin. And perhaps that's happening here as well. There's a big rush for live theatre after COVID. And a lot of people want to get into the game. What would normally be a reasonable gamble for an investor is now not paying off at all. Now, sometimes, you can be gazumped, can't you? You can put a bid in a house, and it's accepted, and then somebody else comes along, Johnny come lately, and makes another bid, and you suddenly are not allowed to go back with a third bid, and so on and so forth. You'd be gazumped. Well, the royal rivalry is, just so that you know how the filthy rich do it, is that Kate and William want a home on the Windsor estate. But it apparently was a part of a package enjoyed by Prince Andrew. And Prince Andrew is trying hard for redemption after all the naughty things that he's done. And part of that redemption is making sure that he looks after his family. And he is saying, well, hang on a bit, I got a prior claim on this property. I want it for my daughter, Eugenie. So here we've got a royal bust-up, flower bags at 30 paces, trying to decide who will have this property on Windsor Estate, the Windsor Estate, a prime piece of real estate, as they would say. And the royals are just scrapping about it, as that's mine. No, it's not. It's mine. Oh no, it can't be yours because, see, it's amazing. It doesn't matter who it is they all are at it. All at it. Actually, it was the cottage, in fact. To us, it would be a mansion. The cottage, in fact, it was one of Queen Victoria's places where she got away from it all, where nobody could find her. And then Margaret, Princess Margaret, held some of her romantic liaisons there with her boyfriends, Ronnie Llewellyn and company. So the writer of the article is asking, will the ghosts of Margaret's scandalous romances still haunt Victoria's cherished retreat? So although it hasn't had much scandal recently, it looks as if it's heading for some more, as William and Andrew face off to see who actually gets. I mean, really, it is a cottage. It's got to be a misnomer. It's just silly. It's a sub-mansion, if you like. I'll grant you it's not a grand mansion, but it's a sub-mansion. Let's see. Escape from the tunnels of hell is the Mariupol, the town in Ukraine that the Russians are pounding at the moment, is much of the resistance is coming from the steel works. And the steel works have now been pounded by the Russian guns. And good morning.
Hi.
And as a consequence, the people there you go. I just checking on a little note that's coming in, but it's not going to enhance anything that we're talking about at the moment. But the big steelworks in the eastern part of Ukraine is where the big steelworks and the coal mines and industry were centered. It actually, in many ways, the landscape is very bleak, except that the fruit farms are very good. But generally speaking, is every time you go around the corner, you come across a MiG jet set in concrete with its nose pointed to the sky. And that to show that it was an armaments factory. Well, it was an armaments factory. Under the EU, it had been turned into either making spoons or tin plates or whatever. But these places are big, sprawling giants, sprawling complexes of machinery and boilers and steam things and pipes and you name it. And not a very attractive place at all. But that's where, that's I suppose what makes them ideal for covert action against an invader. And that's the way that the Ukrainians are using them. And there's a myriad of tunnels that the defenders can use. It is very difficult for the attackers to discover where they are. So it helped the resistance, the Ukrainian resistance. And I've been in one of these places. They're pretty miserable joints, to be quite honest with you. I wouldn't have wanted to spend my life working there, but nonetheless, they were wage earners for a lot of Ukrainians. And now these tunnels are being used to get people out because the safe passage hasn't worked. The Russians, whether it's a lack of communication or whether it's deliberate ploy of I say one thing and do another, it's quite beside the point. And that no, I thought that we got another comment there, but we haven't. But they are using these tunnels to make sure that as many people, civilians, can get out from under the carnage of the bludgeoning of these cities as possible. So believe me, not the sort of places that you would want to even just to visit is to be a part of. They are soulless places. They are filthy places. They are dirty places. They are places where health and safety would have a field day if they came from this country. And by the same token, because of the nature, is they are working on behalf of the Ukrainians as they try to escape from the pounding that the Russian guns and tanks and armaments are doing. Now, this is where the propaganda chief ramps up rhetoric with chilling warning, and perhaps the attention that's being paid to it is reflected by the fact that this story is on the inside pages. But the Kremlin is saying that Putin could drown Britain out of existence with a nuclear strike that would create a radioactive tsunami. Right. A radioactive tsunami. So that paints a picture for you, doesn't it? And they say that they can land a few well-placed rockets. They don't need to land too many, but that the radiation would just sweep over Britain and finish life as we know it in these islands. I would be sitting here pontificating. You would be sitting at home with your computer and your phone and looking at things. And all in all, we would very unhappily finish our lives with not a mass battering of nuclear rockets, but just one or two very well placed ones. And it is, in my opinion, having spent some time in Russia, and although I didn't meet Mr. Putin himself, I did meet some of his aides. I did get a good feel for the way that many Russians think, is that he could, if he makes this sort of threat, be the sort of man to carry it out. And that, to me, once again, I am not warmongering. On the contrary, I am not warmongering. On the contrary, I am trying to say we should pay attention to what this man is saying and not get lost in the what I consider to be the trivia of cakes, lockdown Christmas cakes, icing cakes. It really is not productive in the light of some threats or such threats. And those threats which could easily be realized at the push of a button. Worries me. Sanctuary in UK for Ukrainians, plucked to safety by her Russian school friend. Well, there are a number of stories around about individuals who had friends or relatives or whatever in the Ukraine and have managed to get them out and have fought bureaucracy and in some ways have actually gone in and helped people get out. One thing that is one story that is once again is alarming from a different point of view is that Putin is now striking at food depots. In other words, if we can't beat them by brandishing our guns, what we should do is to starve them out, and that's been an age-old tactic. The tactic in one of the castles down the coast here, and of course the name escapes me the moment that I decide to use it as an example. But during the English Civil War, the royalists held the castle and had food that would have kept them there for years. But they relied upon the water from a well coming from a lake just outside the castle walls, And what they did was they just simply turned off the pumps, the channels. So although they got all this food to withstand a siege, they needed water. Within a week, the defenders had capitulated. So it's doing away with supplies is a profit tactic, I guess. And once again, it is this sense of outrage at anything that Putin does is very real. It is Stephen Glover, who can be a somewhat serious man, but he says in his column, "Why I'm backing a proper Tory and a worthy successor to Boris to take the Porngate MP's seat," and the poor bloke who. It's probably the last porn movie that he'll watch on his phone. He got caught in the House of Commons watching porn movies. Is likely to lose his seat. And Stephen Glover says some promising up-and-coming ministers, but they don't yet have the experience for the top job. So reviewing the immediate contenders in case Boris does fall on his sword or is pushed under a bus, one's heart doesn't jump for joy. Is Rishi Sunak ready for it? Does Liz Truss seem substantial enough? Could Jeremy Hunt hack it? All these and 2 or 3 dark horses in the cabinet fancy their chances, and they are busy buttering up Tory MPs and selected journalists. Support me, support me, support me. Yet even many of those who despair of the Prime Minister are inclined, having examined the field, to stick with the devil they know. And actually, that seems to me not only a sensible tactic, but also what is best for the country. When we in times of crisis, we need a very good leadership. And while he's made some mistakes, Boris has faced some horrific problems as a member, as Prime Minister. Horrific. And yeah, he looks like a bumbling fool, but don't bet on that. I'm not saying that he is the best man for the job, but what I'm saying is that he is somebody that we could rely upon until such time as some of these crises have gone, and not to bolt for the stable door at the moment that we get a bit under stress. Oh, dear, dear, dear. Dear, dear, dear. Let's see what else we might have here. I wonder. Let's try this one. I have no idea what's it.
They call me Mr. Keith. Well, in 1940, they didn't call me anything because I was Baby Keith, Baby Bunting, and ready to face the first decade of my life, which was 1940s. Eventually, in 52, when we start Jubilee celebrations, I was at school at Bishop Vesey's. In that first decade, before I got there, we were at war, or at least we were suffering from 1945 on the effects of war. So I was only vaguely aware, as I went past rubble, what bombing was all about, what transport hit had taken, or the privations of the people as they saw war vehicles in the streets, and very little in terms of comfort, the things that we would appreciate today, at the pub and travelling by bus. These are all vague memories for me. And the planes overhead. I remember once saying to one of my great aunts, "Aunt Lil, why did God make Germans?" To which she made the reply, "Hush, child, hush. That was the life in the 1940s to the 1950s. And then off I went. They call me Mr. Keith, to grammar school. Oh, the winter of 1948, that I do remember. One of the fiercest on record. Then to Bishop Vesey's. What a life. What an interesting life as we enter Jubilee year. It's over now.
And indeed, is one of the things that we plan to do is to take a look at various parts of the decades between 1952 and 2022 to mark and see what various decades, various landmarks there are that brought us through. One that is not mentioned there, but will be, is that 1953 was the year that television came to the Shires. It had been known by a very limited number of people in London prior to the Second World War in the 1930s. But then that all had to stop because of the war. And then when it got going again after the war, so a series of television masts, boosters, were built around the country to bring the signal to the masses, if you like. And it changed the face of the way that entertainment and information was brought to us. I don't think that anybody in those days had any inkling of the massive communications developments that we've had recently here. I don't think for a moment that that's the case. But just the simple pictures and programs that were brought to us in our living room defied any sort of understanding of what technology was about. It was miracles, absolute miracles. And families that had a television set would invite the neighbors in on a Sunday night, those who didn't have television sets, to watch a favorite program, to have coffee, and to watch the latest serial or whatever. It was a social revolution. And it was one of the things that in the 1950s, well, in fact, coronation year, and there was a big debate as to whether the coronation should be shown on television. And when it was opted for it, and everything went ahead, and to make sure that people could watch the coronation on the small screen. And that was in 1953, of course. So there was a landmark which we will explore a little bit as time goes by. Now, on the days that we don't have guests, we will cut short our broadcast just a little. It is now 1 minute past 11, and I think that what we'll do is we will shall we let's see if we can find one more video to show you. Well, that it's not so easy. Well, I think that here, I love this one. I love this one because this was something that was very cheekily at the turn of the century in the Balkans. We used to sing this to the EU people on the basis that EU and UN were completely, utterly useless. Not true, of course, but that's the way we saw it. And it was it was something that we were very, very naughty and cheeky.
We're busy doing nothing, working the whole day through, trying to find lots of things not to do. We're busy going nowhere, isn't it just a crime? We'd like to be unhappy, but we never do have the time.
There we go. Right, a quick run through the newspapers as they are this particular morning. It's a mixed bag. Different newspapers with different ideas of what's important. The Daily Telegraph: Johnson, Ukraine is ready for its finest hour, heralding the fact that we, the Brits, are going to put in 300 million quid in equipment and fighting paraphernalia in the Ukrainians' fight against the Russians. The Times: crumbling and filthy hospitals are putting patients' lives at risk. And that is a key issue that has got to come in front of Parliament. Rising inflation to blow a £7,000 hole in pensions. In other words, your gold-plated pension may not be so gold-plated after all. The Guardian: Patel faces mass legal action from Ukrainians stuck in the visa backlog. Those people who thought that they got a visa and then found that the system that issued it had got logged down is now under attack in the courts. The Sun: Queen's Guards let fake priests stay the night, and a man posing as a priest chatted his way into the Coldstream Guards. First of all, into their mess, into their officers' mess, where he enjoyed subsidized drink and chat and lots of gay evenings with the officers. But there's then offered a night's stay, and he didn't even so much as show him bus pass to get in. So the fear of assassination of the Queen, it being that easy to gain access, is the Metro also carries it on, is the fall of the century. The Eye: Tories hit by infighting going on the eve of election. We just mentioned that. Daily Express: Boris's right to buy plan is a vote winner. According to the analysts, he is resurrecting the idea that people can buy their council houses at a subsidized price and also with a certain amount of help to make sure that they can raise the mortgage. The Mail: where have our GPs gone? It asks. Apparently, there are 2,000 patients to one GP, and the whole system is breaking down. The Financial Times talks about bringing back a company called ARM onto the London Stock Exchange, where it's threatening to go to the American Stock Exchange. and taking, of course, the money with it. The Mirror, Maddie, prime suspect, a danger to society. That is now very heavy leaning towards one particular man as the prime suspect in the Maddie McCann kidnapping murder. Well, they don't know that it's murder yet, but are pretty sure that she is no longer alive. And the Daily Star, we are expecting 23 degrees centigrade. We are going to be hotter than Crete, hotter than Ibiza, hotter than Saint-Tropez. And the temperature is going to be 23 centigrade from Tuesday. Well, today's Tuesday. And whether, in fact, that's going to kick in, because the forecast at the moment is 15 degrees out there. It's nice and balmy, but that's it. And that's broadly what the papers have to say. And that takes us to 8 minutes past 11. And time for us, 1 moment, let's see. We got Gary Torrington, Max Beach. Thanks for the broadcast today. Well, that's very kind. We're glad that people are enjoying it, and our commentary and our take on what's going on. So there we are. We will be back tomorrow when the gang's all here. We've got more people than we've got cameras to cover them. So I hope you do it tomorrow, and we will make sure that we get that little bit in peace, to improve the signal and not have you with these wobbly pictures, which we're suffering at the moment. Let's say toodle pip, shall we? Why not? Toodle pip. And here we go.